Have you ever seen an adaptation of something and asked yourself, why exactly does this exist? Well, that was me in Dante's Inferno, a hack-and-slash action game developed by Visceral Games and released by EA in 2010 for the PS3, Xbox 360 and PSP. It's based on a divine comedy, a long narrative poem, according to Wikipedia, written by Dante Alighieri. That. And by based, I mean someone probably read the Wikipedia article, because while I haven't read the book myself, I doubt Dante pulls out any sick scythe combos in between rhymes and chats with his ghost buddy Virgil. But who really cares if it's accurate, right? As long as it's fun. Well... Dante's Inferno starts as it means to go on, immediately giving you a taste of the combat system by cutting down some heathens who never learnt to not run at the tall fucker with the big pointy stick. As your taster session of the combat system, this fight is piss easy, but it's a really good show of how good the combat can actually be. The scythe feels heavy, in a good way, like you're hitting your enemies with a sledgehammer instead of a foam bat, and Dante throws that thing around like Darth Maul, which, as you can guess, feels pretty damn satisfying. For the ranged option, slightly later in the game, Beatrice's comically huge crucifix is imbued with the power of God, and can now fire holy phantom crosses in an arc in front of you. They actually sound and feel good to use, and actually hold their own for the most part, letting you deal with the more annoying enemies at a distance, and not take about 20 minutes doing it. And to make this even better, like the cherry on top of a very gory cake, Dante can control larger creatures by jamming his scythe straight into their brain and rooting around in the important bits. You don't get to use them much unfortunately, but when you do, it's pretty damn fun. So why, after praising the game, am I so bored after, say, an hour? Surely the game has more to offer than a paltry 2 weapons, right?
Nope.
While Dante does pick up some new spells, such as a Holy Armour and the Power Slide of God, which seem to be the only useful ones, after most boss fights he never gets any new weapons. You can buy upgrades, but in my opinion half of them felt fucking useless, and they're locked behind a really basic morality system. See, when you finish an enemy off, you can either absolve or punish them. Both offer experience, absolving for holy and punish for unholy. Should be all fine and proper, except if you decide to go full on battle priest and absolve everyone like I did. You'll get almost no new scythe combos as they're locked behind the unholy tree, leaving you with no new dance moves but a lot of Christian metal. But if you go unholy, the health upgrades are locked behind the holy tree, so while you can dance, the floor is made of broken glass and salt. So it's a big case of damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's a rather obvious ploy to try and get you to play the game over again, as the game does have a new Game Plus system. But can you really be bothered? There's no alternative ending, and it has nothing left to offer gameplay-wise other than some relics you might have missed. Also, quick time events. Ugh. Back in the past, Dante, after some good old-fashioned murder, stares off into space and gets killed by the one Saracen with any common sense, and is faced with the Grim Reaper, ready to take his soul to hell for his acts during the ongoing crusade. Now, most people would just give up. Well, guess I'm dead, oh well. But Dante wasn't too fond of the pitch old death was selling, and proceeds to kill the living fuck out of him, and steal his scythe. Yeah, it's not even 10 minutes in, and Dante's already faced off with and beaten death, stole his shit, and fucked off back home to show the wife. Unfortunately for both him and his wife Beatrice, he broke his vow of no woman, no fuck while retaking the Holy Land, and in another stroke of bad luck, Beatrice, along with Dante's handsy dad, are murdered by the husband of the Saracen woman that Dante slept with, and because Beatrice apparently got the wrong prayer number, Satan takes her to hell as payment for Dante's wandering cock. Now armed with Death's scythe, balls the size of a small planet, and the edgelord tapestry he's sewn onto himself to represent his sins, Dante dives into hell to rescue his wife and listen to his ghost compadre Virgil's poetry slam along the way. See, Virgil offered to help Dante if Beatrice put a good word for him in heaven. And by help, he meant stories. Lots of stories. So not really that helpful in the long run. Of course, to actually make it into hell itself, and not just sit on the shores of hell for all eternity wishing you'd just played Doom instead, you need to cross the River Styx with the help of Charon, the old boatman who, in this game, is just a fucking boat for some strange reason. Not that what he is really matters, as Dante decides to not pay the ferryman, and just rips his head off and rides his boat carcass all the way to Lucy's front door. Arriving in Limbo, or as I like to call it, Hell's waiting room, he knocks Charon's head off a cliff, just to really rub it in, and cuts a swath through the queuing dead all the way to Minos, the infernal receptionist, who's not too happy that Dante is both alive and a queue jumper. He attempts to fix both problems. He fails, thus adding him to his ever-growing murder streak of Lucifer's ever-dwindling workforce. Lust is the next level on this graphically impressive tour of hell. Here there be tits. Tits that spit people. Wait, what? The level design for this game is actually pretty damn good. Apparently some people put it on par with God of War 3. I haven't played any of those games, so I don't have a say on that. But what I can say is that I never got lost or overly frustrated. The game always seems to point me in the right direction without making all the maps just straight lines, and manages to fit in some collectibles in the form of famous or infamous sinners that you can either absolve or punish. If you decide to absolve everyone, like I did, because I'm a fucking idiot, then prepare for some Christian Guitar Hero. Silent Christian Guitar Hero. No music. Just the sweet sounds of holy forgiveness. I have no idea why this is in the game, or why anyone thought it was a good idea. I'd rather just kick the shit out of some actual sins, or see how fast Dante can eat a loaf of bread. I don't know, just something more interesting than this. Thankfully, you don't have to do that with the enemies. Absolving them is a matter of shoving the cross right in their face and mashing circle until they overflow with holy juices. Or just chop them up. God doesn't care, he's got a crusade to watch. So anyway, after feeling your way through the tunnels of lust, you come to the Carnal Tower, where Lucifer is telling Beatrice all about Dante's cheating ways, and slowly turning her into a succubus, while Dante faces off with Cleopatra and eternal king of the friend zone, Mark Antony. It was also at this point I fully realised how much censoring I'm going to have to do, lest one nipple doth slip and YouTube takes me round the back of the woodshed. Marky Mark is slain for his crimes against music, and Dante proceeds down to the greasy and heavily processed level of gluttony. This land is protected by the three-headed creature known as Cerberus. Unfortunately, he has worms, and Dante has to put him down. This level is more of the same, so I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of it. Run, climb, kill annoying spinning enemies, and absolve like you've never absolved before. The most notable thing here would be the portal puzzle the game throws at you about halfway in. It's not really hard, just requires patience and timing. Two things I apparently lack. After you've proven your superior intellect, set yourself on fire a few times for good measure, and, after Dante's shown how his father and wife died because Lucifer is a douche, swing your way on to the fourth circle. Greed. Run, jump, kill, avoid a gold bath, all the usual stuff. The game spices it up a bit with some spinning blades here and there. That's nice, I guess. On the way to the next circle, you have to deal with the puzzles of Plutus, fallen Greek god of wealth. It's not really difficult, just a series of puzzles and a statue to get past. Now what's more interesting is jacking some demons right so you can deal with Dante's daddy issues. See, Dante's dad, a man with a name I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, was a bit of a greedy, abusive, lecherous son of a bitch who treated his wife and son like shit. Now residing in hell as the greasiest motherfucker since Steven Seagal, circa right fucking now, the two decide to have some family counselling in the one way they can. Hardcore fisticuffs. While the bosses thus far have been pretty simple and not really worth getting into much, Love Handles over here actually poses a threat, constantly using his little homing cross spell, which is nowhere near as useful when you get it right after the fight, and AoE attacks to knock you on your ass. I actually died a couple of times against this guy, until I realised you can just spam him to death with the cross. See, he was my dumbass trying to mix things up a bit, but it turns out the answer was mash circle till your thumbs fall off. Anyway, the first part of Dante's awkward Thanksgiving is over, and with it, greed. Time for the fifth circle. Anger. Anger also has worms, and Boadicea, for some reason. Both of these issues can be resolved with some good hard faith. One problem that can't be is one of the game's most annoying puzzles. You have to push a lever along a path carved in a wall. This lets the elevator you're on go up. Sounds fine and dandy until the enemies pop up. So you deal with them and burn to death, and start the whole thing over again. Because the best type of puzzle in any game involves instant death. Then the game starts blocking the path with stone to slow you down even more, which is even more fun. Yeah, I found this bit quite annoying. That could be down to my own idiocy, and I can't really bother to find out. So fuck it. Beatrice, obviously getting bored, gives up on Dante, eats the forbidden fruit, which has to be pretty rotten by now, it has been a while, and fully transforms, going off with Lucifer while Dante crosses some marshes on a conveniently placed platform. Except that's not a platform you're riding on. It's a big boy colossus called Phalagius? Oh, for fuck's sake. Who's kinda pissed off that you just walked all over his head and tries to smash you. Friendly fire ensues until Dante plugs his scythe right into his brain and uses him for a free ride. Now atop your giant Hellzord, you unfortunately don't go toe to toe with the Power Rangers, instead you smash up Hell's only tourist attraction, the City of Dis. This doesn't last long as you come to an impasse and the only way out is to sacrifice your big boy like a Yoshi and continue on alone. To Heresy. In Heresy, the enemies are dicks and want to toast you. Stop that. Here you also run into heretics, an enemy type that is completely immune to your holy cross. So if you went holy like I did, this is the part where the game really bites you in the arse. I forgot to mention that all doors in this game have to be eviscerated to open. What do you have to do in life to end up as a fucking door in hell? Can you get turned into a window? Is all of hell's furniture made of people? That's both metal as fuck and highly disturbing. Oh yeah, Heresy's done. If this was Warhammer, this place would be full, but here, pretty small circle. On to violence. Violence's main attraction is a big fuck-off river of blood you need to cross, and the wonderfully named Wood of Suicides, which is not full of shitty YouTubers, but instead full of flowers that make you want to kill yourself. I question how that'd be useful in hell, where everyone except Dante is already dead, but okay, you do you, Satan. Anyway, part 2 of Dante's awkward Thanksgiving shows up, here in the form of his mother. As it turns out, unknown to him, she didn't die of an illness like his father told him. She actually killed herself because of his abusive father, who then lied to Dante. So if you felt even a little bit bad for killing him, don't. She's absolved, finally putting her to rest, and Dante continues on to the abominable sands, a wasteland filled with damned crusaders, and an annoying puzzle made a little easier with the suicide fruit you got from the woods a little while back. Here you meet up with Dante's dead, soon-to-be brother-in-law and former crusading buddy? What the fuck's a buddy? Francesco, who is now horribly disfigured and wants to kill your ass. He's not that hard, just dodges attacks and throws swords back at him. Once he forgives Dante and is absolved, it's time for the 8th circle. Fraud. Welcome to Fraud, a land filled with politicians, failed Kickstarters, and Dante's pissed off wife. She's 6, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, a big fire demon who's not hard at all. Just cross him to death and move on to, oh for fuck's sake, where Beatrice decides to run you through some tests. 11 to be exact, each representing some form of fraudster damned to this level, and each burden you with a different handicap or benefit. Infinite magic, get a 100-hit combo, kill enemies in the air, etc, etc. They're not particularly hard, there's just too many of them. It really feels like some padding right at the end having 11 of these, especially when it's just more of the same. It's not terrible, but you could have mixed it up a bit, guys. Once the trials are done, Dante runs into his now fully zergified Beatrice on the way to treachery, and Dante says that he's faced all his sins. Except he hasn't. See, back in the Crusade, Dante slaughtered a lot of Saracen prisoners, and let Francesco take the blame, thus getting him killed. Realising he's been just a little bit of a dick, he admits that he belongs in hell and asks Beatrice to forgive him. Beatrice is so moved by this self-sacrifice that she turns back to normal and gets whisked away by the Archangel Gabriel, who tells Dante that his redemption is near, and to fuck off. For now though, it's on to treachery. Here you deal with giant heads that want to blow you away and collapsing platforms you need to wind your way past. Also, Mordred is here too, which means King Arthur is real in this universe. Don't know what to think about that. Time for the final battle. Lucifer. Lucy is an arsehole. First it turns out he only took Beatrice to coax Dante down to hell so he could break the chains and free him, but he's a massive damage sponge as well. His first form is pretty easy, but his last 2 forms can fuck right off. He just takes so much damage, hits like a train, and if you went holy like I did, the game really rubs it in, as Lucifer can reflect them back and damage you with them. The easiest way to beat him is to just smash triangle to strong attack him, over and over again, until he starts flying. Then you have to jump and spam triangle. Anyway, once you've dealt with him, he shows Dante what really happened back when he was stabbed. Turns out he actually did die, so he can't leave hell, as God doesn't like that apparently. Much to the glee of Lucifer, who is now free to overthrow God and reduce Earth to ash. Or improve it, depending on your outlook. But Dante, like a true anime character, channels the power of his friend's souls and absolves himself before going Super Saiyan and locking Lucy back in his ice prison. Hopefully forever. He's then whisked off to Purgatory before the foot of Mount Purgatory, where Beatrice awaits in paradise. Having finally cast off his sins, he rips off his sewn tapestry from his chest and walks away to be with Beatrice. But oh fuck, to be continued? Oh wait, this game's over 8 years old, and visceral games no longer exist. So just ignore that a bit, I guess, just sweep it under the rug. Thanks, EA. I wouldn't ignore the music, however, as it's bloody fantastic. The soundtrack is an awesome mix of sweeping orchestral tracks that fit both the mood and the graphics of hell extremely well. Kudos to the composer. He did an amazing job. So, in the end, while it sounds like I'm shitting on this game, Dante's Inferno isn't a bad game. Hell, the first half of the game was a blast with its satisfying combat and actually pretty good level design, but by the second half it just really starts dragging on. It gets so repetitive and really could have used a more vast selection of weapons, and making Dante less bland might have helped as well, as half his dialogue is just Beatrice. If you can look past those issues, however, it's a fun game, and I'd recommend it to people who enjoy games like God of War or Devil May Cry. It's dirt cheap to pick up nowadays, so if it looked interesting to you, I'd give it a buy. Also, there's been a budgie singing throughout this whole thing. Oops, I guess.